Hello, Schmoeville. Man, plowing through these episodes. I believe this is episode 28 now. This was the first one that I missed. I was not there because at the time my daughter was just born, so I was nowhere to be found. Mark was going to hold the ship down, and what a great week to do that. Not only were we welcoming guest Grace Randolph from Beyond the Trailer, a big YouTuber. If you guys are familiar with the YouTube reviews, I'm sure you know Grace Randolph. But this was the first time that Schmoeville really got to meet Josh, the Wildman Macuga. And this was before the Wildman was the Wildman. He had been a guest a few times in a couple of reviews here and there, but he was able to help out Mark, and I think he co-hosted like 2 shows in a row. So a lot of people may not realize that Macuga was part of Phase 2. And he did a great job here. They brought in Grace. They talked to Grace a lot about kind of how she got started on YouTube, what she did, kind of the process of what Beyond the Trailer is all about. And then they talk about some of the movies that were coming out in the summer of next year. They talk about the Avengers, and they talked about some of the movies they were looking forward to. I think Mission Impossible 4 was coming out. It was a really cool movie discussion. And it was a lot of fun. And I remember I had listened to it. I think I listened to it when I was at the hospital, and it was really cool. And re-listening to it, it's a great interview. So good job to both Mark and the Macugs, and for Grace Randolph. And tell Macuga when you hear this, say, "Wow, man, just heard your first appearance. Man, that sucked." No, I'm just kidding. He's the best. So tell the Wildman. Wildman will be back. We'll all be back April 3rd, 7 to 9 p.m. this Thursday, the 3rd. Cannot wait to be live again, Phase 5 of the podcast. So thank you very much, guys, and enjoy this episode of Phase 2.
All right, kids, welcome back to the Schmoes Know podcast. I am your host, Mark Ellis, and joining me, not as always, that's usually Kristian Harloff. He is out today with a very exciting reason. Taking his place today is Josh Macuga from CasualMafia.com. Say hi to the kids, Josh.
Hey, guys.
Josh has helped us out on some Schmoe Know reviews before.
Yeah.
You did Due Date,
and
Take Me Home Tonight.
Take Me Home Tonight.
And we both had the same feeling. What? It's a fine movie, but if you say it's called Take Me Home Tonight,
if there isn't an Eddie Money song in it, you can't name the movie.
Not even 2 Tickets to Paradise.
Not even Shaken, for Christ's sake.
Nothing of Eddie Money was in there except for the trailer.
Yeah.
Very disappointing, but I'd love to talk for a whole hour about Eddie Money songs.
I could.
And I have done that in the past. We are also missing the lovely Miss Catherine Reitman today. She is also out as well. I'm not sure why Catherine missed the podcast this week, but I do know
she didn't have a baby.
She did not have a baby, but somebody in the Schmoe world did, and it gives me great pleasure to officially announce that Kristian Harloff is now the proud father of a baby girl.
They grow up so fast, don't they?
I know. They had it a couple of days ago, and so now I am officially kind of like an honorary uncle.
Oh, boy.
And it feels weird. This is going to be maybe the first kid that I will do all those cool uncle things with. Like, I'll take her to a baseball game and, maybe sell her pot when she's 15. I don't know what's going to happen.
Hey.
But
I'm an uncle, Mark, and if there's any advice I can give you, it's you are supposed to get more drunk during the holiday time than you normally would, because you are now a drunkle, my friend.
I don't know if I can get possibly more drunk than I did at Kristian and his wife's wedding, but I'll see if I can push the envelope.
That's what Christmas. That's what the holiday season is for.
Since we already mentioned Eddie Money and why it's we don't know how to have children, maybe we should bring in a female to the show.
Hey.
And we are very happy to be joined on this week's Schmoes Know podcast by one of the most popular movie reviewers in all of YouTube. She's kind of the queen of YouTube, if you will. She is the host and creator of the hit show Beyond the Trailer. It is the one and only Grace Randolph. Grace, welcome to the Schmoes Know podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm honored. Hi, Mark. Hi, Josh.
It is an honor to have you now, and I know that you've been aware of us. We've been aware of you for a while. Did you ever think that somebody like Kristian could pull off? We're pretty sure he could pull off having a baby, you doing that work, but that he would ever actually be a father. Did you ever get that sense from watching our videos?
Well, I felt he always looking out for my best interests with his reviews. So, I feel he has the protective gene. Right? So he can do that. He can steer her away from bad movies.
That's right, yeah. And he's sheltered me from many a bad movie in the past. And Grace, you are right now. You are currently on the other side of the United States. You are in New York, and that's where you currently reside. Is that correct?
Yes, I was born in New York.
Oh, man.
You were born in New York, so you've been in New York your entire life, huh?
That's right. I like it. It took. I decided to stay.
Well, and you were recently, I guess today you were doing some Christmas shopping. What is the winter like in New York? Because I've never really lived through a New York winter.
Well, this is the winter to visit, Mark, because we're having unseasonably warm weather.
Oh, man. Mark, I think that's an invite, buddy. I said, I think that's an invite from Mr. Ellis.
It sounded a little bit like Grace might have an inflated bed that I could crash on, if that's true.
Grace, listen, I will tell you this. Mark Ellis is an extremely charming gentleman. If you invite him to your apartment in New York, all of your friends are up for grabs, just saying.
Well, it's really beautiful here. It's like in the 50s, around 60 degrees.
Wow.
And that has really led to it. I think actually there was a big article in New York Magazine this week that we're going to have our all-time high of over 50 million tourists for the year in New York City.
Wow.
50 million damn
They're all here
tourists.
today.
And it sounds like I may be one of them kind of soon. Now, Grace, we do have a difference of opinion, though, because you seem to love New York and embrace the New York, the vibe, the culture. Josh, my lovely co-host today, has also lived in New York for a couple of years, and he has a slight difference of opinion.
Grace, I don't want to offend New Yorkers out there. I lived in New York for 2 years. I lived, Midtown, like Hell's Kitchen. I lived Lower East Side. Anyway, I don't really like New York.
Why? Your voice got really high like Jiminy Glick when you were talking about New York. What's your problem with New York?
I liked being there, and I just hated living there. I hated basically spending my entire life savings on 1 month of rent, and I was tired of being landlocked. I like to play golf. You can't really do that on the island of Manhattan. The only thing you can really do is shop and drink. And since I don't really shop, my alcoholism just took off. So I thought maybe.
Hell's Kitchen still has a lot of bars.
Yes, exactly. And I think the California sun just was a magnet for me, and I made my way out. Nothing against New York, but yeah, I'm not a big fan.
Well, Grace,
My sister lives in Los Angeles, so I get to sometimes experience best of both worlds.
so
Okay.
you had been to L.A. obviously for work and stuff. Is there anything that you like about L.A. that would actually convince you to want to move here, or do you think you're going to stay in New York?
I really like New York, but I'll tell you, it's awfully tempting. Your reserved seating at your movie theaters.
Oh,
They don't have that in New York, huh?
get out of here!
No, it's horrible. I have to stand in line at least an hour early for a movie.
Get out of here!
Yeah, and they have reserved seating. They used to do it at just this one fancy theater in Los Angeles called ArcLight. It was the Cinerama
It's a
Dome.
nice theater.
Yeah, and it's a really cool experience, isn't it, Grace? Because you walk in, and it feels like you're walking into the Death Star from Star Wars.
Yeah, a lot of stormtroopers sell you tickets there.
Yeah.
I like it. I like they come in, they give a little announcement. Although the first time I went there, I got weirded out because being a New Yorker, we're friendly people, but we're not like we get a little nervous. And since it's assigned seating, when we came in, our seats told us to sit right next to the only other couple. It was me and my sister, the only other two people in the theater. And I'm like, I'm not sitting next to that guy. They're just going to think I'm weird.
What were you seeing?
Like,
What
you
movie
have
were
to
you
sit
seeing?
There. That's what your seat ticket says. And I'm like, I'm not doing it. He's going to think I'm bizarre. Sure enough, Usher came by later and started to fill up and was like, Miss, you have to move to your seat. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, this is nice.
What movie was it?
Oh, I don't remember. It was like 2 or 3 years ago. It was one of the only reserved seating in the ArcLight. You know what it might have been? It might have been, what was that movie with John Krasinski and Mayor Rudolph? They were a couple.
Oh man, the one where she's
Remember
pregnant.
that movie? That was a pretty good.
Where she's pregnant. It's that indie film where they're traveling across the country to find where they want to raise the baby.
Oh yeah, we got with Jeff Daniels was the dad, right?
Right.
And man, we got 3 film experts on the show, and none of us can come up. I actually, because that was not a movie that the Schmoes actually reviewed, but I took it upon myself to go watch it just to take in a film for the afternoon. And I cannot remember the name of the film, but it was good. I kind of liked it. Now again, I wasn't like Grace and had to sit right next to 2 creepy people that I'd never met before.
Well, it filled up eventually, so it wasn't creepy, but it sure seemed creepy to start.
And it was Away We Go is the name of the movie. Is that
Away
right,
we
Grace?
go.
Yay!
Yay.
Yeah, and Grace, I got to tell you, it did not just magically come to me. We have a great producer, Katie, who not only sets up the podcast and allows us for cross-country calling, she also looks up any movie that falls through the cracks.
Yes,
So.
exactly.
Thank you, Katie.
Katie.
Appreciate it.
The one thing I remember from that movie, Away We Go, was the terrible cinematic indie feature, indie parts of it, where they were like, do those long camera shots of them like going down a people walker at an airport, like with slow music playing from like something from the Garden State soundtrack, like but
right out of the indie playbook. Yeah,
exactly,
totally.
Exactly.
Grace, what kind of movies did you kind of get into, and how did that? I mean, were you more into independent kind of films, or were you more of a mainstream kind of girl growing up and kind of getting started with reviewing and kind of critiquing cinema?
I really like movies in general. I grew up going to movies. I come from a family that really likes them. So when I was growing up, I would go to the movies at least twice a weekend, and I would just see I would see everything. We just liked going. And everything from big action movies like Die Hard, to see like smaller films. I've seen a lot of movies, and I just like watching them at home. I like watching movies on, Turner Classic Movies. I just like the medium.
And, I love that you brought up Die Hard because it is getting to be the Christmas season. Mm-hmm. So I have a feeling some German terrorists are going to try to take over a building, and only one guy can stop them.
Let me tell you my favorite Die Hard story.
I'm so upset. Did you see the news that they're going to give John McClane a son to try and extend the franchise?
Yeah, now this was kind of news that recently came out. Die Hard 5 is in production, and it's going to be John McClane is going to be in Russia, I believe, and they give him a son. I guess he had a son, throughout the...
If it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I'm going to lose my mind.
I'm going to go with... Grace, have they announced who the son is going to be played by?
No, last I heard they had like 5 people in the running, and they're all like, your usual like handful of like new actors. Like nobody exciting.
Okay.
No name popped out where you're like, oh wow, that'll be interesting.
They need a good Macuga or Mark Ellis in there in that running for that.
Indiana Jones 4.
Yeah, no, really. Well, I have a feeling Shia LaBeouf is going to be in the running.
Because Indiana Jones really worked out for everybody.
John McClane is going to be going to Russia, and I hope that they don't, they don't nuke the fridge or jump a shark in Russia. But you never know. I mean, again, it's a Die Hard movie, so I'm going to be excited because it's Die Hard and it's John McClane. Grace, are you still on the Die Hard train through Live Free and Die Hard, or did you kind of fall off the wagon at some point?
Well, speaking of nuking the fridge, he rode the jet in the last one.
That's right. That's another term you can use.
Yeah, really kind of pushed the edge of the envelope. But I so enjoy, Bruce Willis in that role, and I still enjoy Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones. So I think I could see myself forgiving both of them.
Yeah, I'd get excited for another Indiana Jones.
Absolutely.
I really would.
Definitely. I'd be there.
Couple years, my brother. Speaking of people having babies, my brother had a baby.
It's happening to everybody.
Everybody's doing it.
Oh yeah, you should call up Kristian and be like, your kid's going to replace you.
Well, I mean, Grace, that's been the joke for a long time. Is that Kristian is he's waiting until him and his wife have a kid that is eventually going to replace me. And I think that having a girl on the show would really help out our ratings.
Yeah. So
I think I may be on the way out, unless I I think I may have to go under some elective surgery if I want to stay on the show. And Josh, you're an uncle now.
I'm an uncle. So my brother.
A baby, but yeah.
Well, I love my niece. She's adorable. She's gonna be 2 in a couple weeks. And last year, my brother's like, you want to read Olivia? Her name's Olivia. Do you want to read her a bedtime story? I was like, yeah, I'll wing it. So he gives me these terrible books, and I didn't really want to read them. So I just did a dramatic reenactment of Die Hard for my niece, for my 1-year-old niece.
Really?
Yes.
And did you jump off the bed? Was that the top of Nakatomi Plaza?
Yeah, she did not go to sleep. It was a bedtime story that just kept her up for a couple more hours. She was very excited.
She's like, you come up with the best stories.
Oh, I mean, if she could have talked and said that, I guarantee you that's what she would have said. But my dramatic reenactment of Die Hard, and me as John McClane and Hans Gruber. Man, do I do a good Hans Gruber.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
And you have to answer this honestly. And Grace, I think you know where I'm going with this. Did you take your shoes off before...
Well, I mean, that's the exposition. I have to take off my shoes in order for her to understand why on earth he would be walking around with bloody feet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, if you ever want to do that again, I can just be the guy that shatters the glass for you. If you want to run across your dog, why is there shattered glass in my daughter's bedroom? Oh, Josh was telling the Die Hard story.
Going full Meisner on it next time. Going full Meisner.
I was wondering how you handled the famous catchphrase.
Well, now she's starting to repeat everything you say, but back then I could say yippee-ki-yay, and
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say that on the podcast?
Dude, I actually want to hear, because Grace, we've heard so much about this great Die Hard reenactment. I'm not going to let Josh off the hook here. I want to hear the actual words.
So as I'm getting to that part, I'm building it up and I'm getting really excited, and I just hear, "Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker!" And she looked at me, her eyes went big, and my brother heard me say that and came in the room and was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh man, I'm sorry."
A heartwarming story to be told throughout the ages at the Macuga household. Now, Grace, if we're going to get off the train of swearing at children for just a minute, you grow up and your family is it sounds like huge movie buffs if you're going to the movies that often. When did you actually get involved in producing your own reviews and getting those out there to the public?
Well, I went to film school, and I was like, when I graduated, I was like, boy, it's awfully expensive to make a movie. I'm going to do something else. So I went into live sketch and improv, and then that was fun. But then the show went as far as it could go. It was like the only sketch and improv show at the Comedy Cellar down in
I love that.
the village.
It's a great space.
And it's like you can't go any higher than that. And it was still a struggle because that's the market, and I was like, I wasn't making any money because it was costing money to rent the rehearsal space and make flyers. So I was like, what am I going to do? And I'll tell you, whenever I have a nervous breakdown, it's good for you, like when you get nervous and you're like, what am I doing? So I knew somebody who was, distributing internet content. He said, oh, why don't you pitch me some shows? So I had been playing around doing this idea, which was originally called Review, which is now Beyond the Trailer. And I pitched that, and they liked it, and so they'd agreed to distribute it, and that's how I started doing that.
Look at you, Grace Randolph.
Yeah, I know, and it's a huge. It's great too, because if you close the door, you open a window, kind of thing. And I never really got into the sketch and improv part of things. I strictly did stand up, just because. Grace, did you find that when did you allow yourself to trust other people? Because that's my big problem on a stage, is I just don't trust anybody else at all. So I want to take all the blame or all the reward when I do stand up. Do you actually
serious trust issues?
Well, that's an interesting thing. I would say, look, what always scares me about stand-up is, and you can verify this, a huge amount of people you have to bring at the beginning of your career.
Yeah, you have to do these things called you don't have to, but it's maybe one of the ways to get stage time early on is these things called bringer shows, where if you bring like 5 or 10 friends, then you get to do stage time. And they run rampant in the stand-up community, and
more so in New York than in L.A. Really?
Yeah.
New York's crazy. And I think New York is 10 people.
Yeah, I mean, I remember doing stand-up in New York and like getting 7 people in the door and then going out to try and find homeless people to just like bring them into the club to get my 10 people.
I fell off the bringer train pretty quick because I'd say I'll bring 5 people, and then like no one would show up because I don't have any friends. And when you're a comic, you lose friends very quickly, civilian friends very quickly.
Yeah.
And so it's just other comics. Did you have to bring people to sketch and improv shows, Grace?
Well, actually, when we were in Times Square, it was a group called Monkeys in the Atrium that I started, and in Times Square we flyered, which was actually very effective. So we would go out and flyer for the show in Times Square, fill the room with tourists. Although I'd say some of our best shows was just for like 2 or 4 people. We would fill that room with tourists. It was an interesting experience to do flyering in the streets of New York.
We did,
but I always felt heartened because I know that Louis Black and Mitch Hedberg did it. So I was like, well, if they did it, you've got to do it.
2 great role models.
Yeah, that's right. It's got to feel so good now, not because, you had to give out flyers just to get people to come watch you. And then you watch, like, when you're Beyond the Trailer episodes, and it's got these huge numbers of people watching it, and you can do it all. You can you watch that from the comfort of your own living room.
Right.
That's got to be a pretty good feeling, right?
Well, it's really nice. I'm always very grateful when people are tuning in. It means a lot. It's a choice that somebody has to make, so I'm grateful that they click on Beyond the Trailer. But, it is really nice because, you go from performing for, like, 30 people a month to being able to have a couple of thousand, I'd say, I think Beyond the Trailer does around anywhere from 70 to, like, 120,000 a day.
That is, those are incredible numbers, and I think that we'd be lying to you if Josh said that I wasn't green with envy. And it's such
time.
It seems like you enjoy doing the whole thing because, again, you kind of created the show as well. Give us kind of a bird's eye view as to how that production takes place from start to feel like you have an idea, like I want to do a video about the new Snow White movies that are coming out. What's the genesis of that, and then how long does it take to kind of finish doing a video until the fans get to see it?
Well, as you may know, the other trailer just recently switched to daily content.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been like just like trying to get that machine up and running. And I think I have a pretty good schedule where what happens now is like I write all the scripts over the weekend. Then I have somebody who grabs all the pictures, as I used to do, but now I'm lucky enough to be able to have someone do it for me. Then on Monday, and then I shoot it all in one chunk.
Oh, wow.
And then on another day, the next day is the big editing day, and I have I edit half of the shows, and I'm very lucky to have a great editor who edits the other half. And then it's kind of like Santa's workshop, it's like very much assembly line. I'm the Henry Ford of internet content.
I can see you and your editors and everybody wearing like the cute little curly elf shoes and the hats and just singing songs about making videos.
I was the Christmas elf at Macy's.
Get out of here.
That one year.
Oh,
That's
really?
hysterical.
Yeah, I was Peppermint.
Oh, well, that's funny because Josh was a Santa Claus at a mall until, that kid pressed charges. But,
whoa.
Hey, yo.
Hey, yo. I shaved a mustache 2 days
Was he
ago.
really a Santa Claus?
Josh, you must have been a Santa Claus at some point in your career.
I have played Santa Claus many a time, not in a mall per se, but I played one in high school in like a high school play.
Isn't it fun?
It is.
It's actually, well, kids actually, I'm really kind of nervous that kids are listening to your show.
No,
they believe that we're filling in for the real Santa, which is very nice.
Yes.
Did you get that teacher in New York? Oh, my God. There was a teacher in New York who told her entire class of second graders there was no Santa.
Oh, man. That's brutal.
Of second graders, there's no Santa? Holy
they were
shit.
doing a class. They were doing a lesson on the North Pole, and they were like, we know all about the North Pole. That's where Santa lives. And she's like, well, actually, there is no Santa. That's your
What is
parents.
she, a born-again Christian? Jesus.
Oh, I mean, you got to do that gently. I remember my freshman teacher in college had to break that to me very, very gently.
Very gently. Bring Mark Dellis off. I mean, he was very disappointed. I know this.
I'm glad you had a good experience. That's fun. I like that one. That's a good joke. That's funny, Mark. I like that one.
Grace, I didn't realize, or I guess I didn't know that you actually edit half of the show as well. That's a lot of work because I edit a lot of the Schmoes No Movie reviews, and it's kind of nice having that feather in your cap after a while. Do you enjoy editing it? Because I like editing because simply I have final cut over what jokes
Of course,
make it.
because he doesn't trust a man on stage. He doesn't trust anybody to edit his footage
and
either.
it does not. I maybe get one or two reviews out, maybe every year, that I don't get a text from Kristian being like, "Hey, what happened to that bit? What happened to that bit?" And I'm like, "Sorry, dude, I got final cut, man." Do you like having that kind of power, that creative control?
Yeah. I like, for instance, I still am the one who does I edit all the interviews because that's true. I mean, I think you're really right. Back when it was review, I had several editors helping with that, but I would help pull all the selects, all the jokes and all the comments that I wanted. Like, I'm sure this happens to you too. When you're filming it, you start to build it in your head anyway. You're like, okay, that line I'm going to use, that line I like that.
Yeah, I'm a director, and so and usually Kristian and I just spit it all out in one take, and then
I'm a director.
But damn it, Josh, do not mock me. I am a director. I'm an editor. I think that, Grace, we should have ASC after our. You know how it always says that in movies at the beginning. It's edited by, and I have no idea what those letters stand for.
Me neither.
But,
Well, I always like to say, on the internet, you do everything. Even, carry your own equipment. I have, every Friday when we go on location, I have to carry, when I get down there, I have to carry the giant sign that we use to show people that what's going on, the monopod, and this big camera case.
Where do you do...
It's quite cumbersome.
So where do you...
I always like to prove it. I'm like, on the internet, you carry your own stuff,
You are on the internet, you are the rock band, and you are your own roadie as well.
So wait,
totally.
what do you...
Everybody always thinks that I'm carrying a cat case, which I'm kind of offended by.
So what do you do on Fridays then?
Damn it.
What do you do on Fridays for your show? What do you do on Fridays for your show?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
What do you do on Fridays for your show that you go
that's where I do the interviews with the audience.
Oh, okay. So you do like man on the street kind of stuff?
Yeah, Grace does this really cool thing on her show where she'll interview people. You know how like they'd always advertise, usually they do it with family movies, how they actually have like people coming out of theaters and they always say, "Oh, I loved it. It was great. I give it 5 out of 5 schmoes." And it looks kind of like Grace actually gets into these people and she's like,
good.
"You have to tell me why you liked it or why you didn't like it." And Grace, you're really phenomenal at doing it because you kind of put people at ease when they're interviewing, but you also get some good info out of them. How did that genesis? How did the interviewing angle take place?
Oh, well, first of all, thank you for saying such nice stuff about my show. I appreciate it.
I love doing Man on the Street myself too, and as Grace and I know from being the pro editors we are, that a lot of that magic's in the editing, but it's all about having a good product and just being able to interact with people, and Grace does it really well.
Oh, well, thank you. And, well, I think, actually, and you probably can attest this too, then, one of the biggest misconceptions is that people like to be on camera.
Yes.
Right.
People hate to be on camera.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
Like, it's really hard. So we're very fortunate and always very grateful when somebody is willing to be on the show.
I'll tell you what.
Regulars.
Though.
And, I came from me just actually wondering as a moviegoer what everybody else thought of the movie. There was nowhere to talk about it or hear what someone thought.
Now, do you actually see the movie? Like, are you in the theater with these people, or you just kind of show up and you're hanging out waiting for the movie to get out?
Yes, because we do so many, I couldn't do that even if I wanted to. Like, we're at the theater, like, thank God for multiplexes, just jumping from showing to showing when they get out.
Oh, wow. That's
and
great. And the movie theaters let you film in there?
I don't like to see the movie in advance because I'd like to be able to take what someone tells me at face value.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, oh, actually, I saw the movie. I don't agree. I want to. Someone tells me it's great. I want to be in the position of the person who's watching the show at home, and eagerly asking them what I think. I want to, and I also want to give everyone's opinion equal measure. I think if I saw it beforehand and someone had a different opinion from me, it would be difficult.
So now, as a internet producer, and we know all about getting permits and shooting places, you were able to get the
hardest part, man.
Yeah, the hardest part. So the multiplex, the theaters let you go inside and talk to people about the movies and stuff?
Yeah, that took a while. For I'd say the first year and a half, Beyond the Trailer was a review, and then Beyond the Trailer, that whole thing was shot outside.
Oh, wow.
The interviews outside on the street, and in the summer it was lovely. Mm-hmm. And in the winter, it was really tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so is it just a process where you just kind of have to keep knocking on the door of I guess, the theater owner, and then they eventually, regard you as a legitimate entity? Did you just have to show them the Beyond the Trailer and the kind of crazy numbers that you're getting, and that was kind of the window to let you into the actual theater?
Right.
Well, yeah, I think, it also, there was, at the beginning, it was tough because, we weren't TV, and, I think TV always gets preference.
Right.
But I think by just showing that we were a responsible show and that Beyond the Trailer, really tried hard and put everything in a good light, it wasn't going to be like, oh, gotcha, and like run around causing mayhem in the theater. So, and, we tried, we're very polite, I actually had an intern once when I had to let go because he was not as polite after just one day. So, put that in the bud because it's so important, because we are guests in the theater. We're so grateful to be able to be there.
Right.
And in exchange, we give a shout out to the theater. At each end of each episode, I give a shout out to the theater on it.
Oh, that's great. Now we were watching an episode of Beyond the Trailer, and you were basically interviewing a cartoon. Can you explain?
Which was awesome.
You saw that?
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Well, you guys know Corey, CoreyofSpill.com.
Yeah.
That interview. That review show.
Okay.
They're really cool guys, and I, much like we started talking, like that's the great thing about YouTube. You see somebody's stuff, and you go, I'm going to write to that person.
Right.
you see somebody's stuff, and you're like, I'm going to have them on my podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, you want to, just like you guys wrote to me, I wrote to Phil, and I was like, you guys want to do a collaboration sometime? And it turns out that the company that they work with is based here in New York. So even though Corey lives in Austin, sometimes he comes out here, like once a month or so. That's how we shoot those.
Yeah. I mean, it was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed that.
It was kind of like a reverse Space Ghost kind of thing,
yes.
Where it's a live person interviewing a cartoon.
Right.
And again, I mean, I'm a 5-year-old inside, so I've always, if I could interview Orko from He-Man, it'd be the best day of my life.
I mean, if we were going
I love He-Man.
dream world situations, I would be in the Aha Take on Me video. I mean, honestly.
Grace, you were a He-Man girl growing up?
He-Man and Shira.
Oh,
yeah, now see
love
She-Ra
He-Man.
because my sister hated the whole He-Man thing, and then the She-Ra character was introduced, and she kind of got into it for a little bit, but then she found out that She-Ra was the sister of He-Man, and that means if she was going to be She-Ra, she would have to be my sister again. So you couldn't
She
really
got out.
escape into that.
She was
so
out.
she got out. Were you Team He-Man or Team She-Ra, Grace?
Oh, well, He-Man, I'll tell you, I had every He-Man toy they made.
Oh, my brother did too. They're great.
Yeah, my sister and I both loved it. We had every toy. And then I think we didn't see He-Man and Shira as competing with each other. We saw He-Man and Shira as like Shira was the expansion of the He-Man universe and more girls dolls for us to have. I mean, like, I always get frustrated they don't make more female action figures. So I'm like, you're really keeping girls from playing with this. Like, we would have our characters fight, and then they would have a dance.
We
So,
They have a fight. That's very West Side Story of you.
Sharks and
yeah,
Jets.
they would fight, and then they'd have an after-fight dance. It was very nice.
My brother and I were obsessed with He-Man, and we wanted to buy Castle Grayskull desperately.
Yeah.
And
I had that.
did you have Castle Grayskull?
That was like the Guy Barbie dream house.
Oh man, without a doubt. Well,
Yeah, it was fantastic.
I come from a very frugal Italian family, if you want to say that. And my grandfather said, "You don't need to buy Castle Grayskull. I'll build you a Castle Grayskull." So he built this shanty like Castle Grayskull out of like balsa wood. It was awful. It broke like the third day we had it, but it was pretty classic. Our family.
That's great. I think your grandfather may have been one of the crew guys on the actual Masters of the Universe movie in 1987 because that Castle Grayskull looked a little shoddy itself.
It was brutal.
That's hilarious. Oh, no, those were great. I love them. I still own the He-Man and Shira movie to introduce Shira.
Oh wow.
Oh, that's right. That's right. They had a big movie and everything that did it. My sister used to have my He-Man characters date her Barbies, and
man.
I'd be like, look, Man at Arms is not here to go out. He's got to be He-Man's right hand man.
He's there. He can't be at the
You
mall
should tell her,
hanging out.
maybe after the fight.
And one time it was my turn to get in the bathtub right after Lisa got out, and it was just one Barbie and Cringer, and I'm like, that's weird. That's some bestiality stuff is going on in here. I can't be a part of this anymore.
Oh, it's classic.
And we transitioned from bestiality into the YouTube reviewers community, which and Grace, I hope it doesn't sound like a weird title to give you, but you kind of are the queen of YouTube reviews. I mean, of YouTube reviewers out there.
Well, I'm really, it's like, that's a very nice thing for you to say, and I really appreciate it.
She's
and,
flabbergasted, Mark.
I'm very grateful for how everything has been going, and I'm just trying very hard to make sure that I continue to deliver. And it's tough. As I said a couple of times on some other places, people might have heard. I don't want people to think I'm repeating myself, but I always say the next month I start with 0 views, and so I think that YouTube is such a viewer-driven venue.
Yeah. And what I've really enjoyed about it, and something that I didn't know when we got into doing Schmoes Know, was that there is this cool kind of community of YouTube movie reviewers out there. Like you have, I mean, I've really gotten into. Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously we've had Jeremy Johns guest on our show, and we've gotten to do some collabs with guys like Chris Stuckman. What are the YouTube? I mean, obviously besides Schmoes Know, which I'm sure you watch every episode without fail. What are some of the other ones that you enjoy watching?
I do. I know Chris. I mean, I know Jeremy. I mean, I think that is a big community. I miss Spirit of the Film fan. Chris is supposed to be coming to New York actually later this month.
Oh, really?
I've never met him. So that's going to be the first time. It's really interesting to know everybody over the internet.
Yeah, I know. It's weird.
Like, wow.
You think about it growing up, and you're like, "What is this? Like Match.com? Like we're just gonna get like we're just all of a sudden gonna meet one day?" But it's kind of cool, and that's a feeling that once Jeremy came down to Los Angeles to hang out, it was a pretty easy. We fell into the groove pretty quickly, and I hope that Chris Duckman, when he goes to New York, has more of a Grace Randolph, Kristian Harloff view of New York as opposed to a Josh Macuga view of New York.
Well, and also, so there's Tom Chattelback. I think Tom Chattelback is the first person that I really got to know in the community, him and Fury of the Film fan.
Yeah, and Fear the Film Fan for you guys is actually New York based too, and he recently stepped down from his perch atop the YouTube reviewers. He kind of retired. I still think it's kind of like a Brett Favre retirement, where it's like he's gonna pop up somewhere eventually, but he's kind of taking some time off. And Chattelbash, I was watching the video he did. He just got a new camera, and he just did a video showing off how great his new camera was. And I was so jealous watching it because we still the Schmoes are still in transit with getting that one dream camera. It's been on my Christmas list for the last 3 years. Maybe this is the year.
You are wishing for a camera. I would still just like Castle Grayskull, really.
You just maybe your grandfather can build me and Kristian a 1080p camera. That would be phenomenal to have, and I'm pretty sure Grandpa Macuga could come through.
What camera are you using?
Grace, I actually don't know the specs on it. Kristian got one. It looks good. I mean, we can shoot in HD now, but the problem is it's just we don't have all the kinks ironed out in which settings we like to use. And then, for example, when Kristian has to go on hiatus, like if he had a baby or something, then
yeah, I consider it.
Yeah, I know the kid. He's having babies all the time now. I still use a flip cam that I just have in my apartment that I use. And luckily, I'm so funny and charming and good looking, it comes through online. But I was the kind of the last person to get on board with the whole you need a good HD and all that thing to really get.
Mark, I don't know if you know this, but he was shooting on VHS until about 8 months ago. He was still holding on to that camcorder. His dad used it as Little League games.
That was the same one. I had to tape over me hitting my first home run to get our, to get our Star Trek review out.
Well, you know what got me on the HD bandwagon? At first, I was like, "Oh, this takes forever to render and upload. Forget this." Then when the Google TV came out, I was like, "This is so exciting!" And I went to the Sony store, and I was like, "Let's put my show up on this TV." And it looked so horrible and pixelated on the big screen that I was like, I got to go to HD.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's tough for me to watch the old Schmoes No reviews now because it was such great. Well, it was grainy footage, and I weighed like 30 pounds more, so I look like I'm wearing that fat suit that Ryan Reynolds had in Just Friends. You watch one of the 2000s.
Still handsome, Mark. Still handsome.
Congratulations. I'm glad you took off the fat suit.
That's right. I got in the gym, and the fact that I'm drinking Coors Light all day, it does not mean the weight's coming back.
No, Grace. Sorry, I always think as a YouTube content provider and somebody that does movie reviews, and
you say it very official, like a YouTube, like you're in some perch of. You sound like the principal.
You guys, I'm talking. I mean, we have YouTube.
I've never heard it put that eloquently, Josh.
Oh,
is what I'm saying. It was very nice.
I went to public schools, so. Grace, you have like a very lovable quality, and you have a show, and it comes across on screen. You have that factor of people, they want to listen to what you have to say, and they want to know they really follow your show. And same with Schmoes No is
thank you.
It's the je ne sais quoi of the show. Is now what I always find hard is people that comment on your videos, as we like to call them in the rap world, haters. How do you deal with the hater aspect of things? I mean, do you get many? Do you have certain people that you try
trolls,
and,
I guess,
block?
is another word.
I guess trolls.
Do you get a lot of the trolls, Grace?
Yeah, I think, look, especially when you start a show, there's always going to be haters. I have a shirt I really like with Statler and Waldorf on it called "Haters Gonna Hate."
I love that.
I love it.
And it's like, I think that you just really can't care about that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I think that they've gone away. I mean, you have to weed them out. I mean, you just can't have someone bully you on your channel.
Right.
But if someone has like a dissenting opinion, that's fine, okay? But if someone's just going to be senseless and mean, you just don't want that around.
Right.
And also, I would say that when I have a video, and I think you have the same thing, when a video goes beyond your normal audience, then you'll start to have a little bit of haters,
Yeah, you're very right.
Yeah, and I think that a couple of times when the Schmoes have ventured into the video game genre, we've gotten it more. We still, I mean, our fans are like the best. Seriously, I always say that they're the best in the world, but they really are because they always they have good opinions too. Mm-hmm. And the thing about our show and Grace's show as well is that we're not telling you what to like. We're not trying to be stuffy movie critics. Like, this is what's good about this movie, this is what's bad. It's just our opinions. So we really encourage dissenting opinions. Right. But then it gets to the troll thing where it's like, hey, you guys suck. Arkham Asylum came out last week, stupid. Yeah. And it's like, I was just trying to talk about how cool the video game trailer was. I apologize.
I think we're all in agreement that the internet is a real dick. Like, the internet is just...
I was just going to say that I think that's like, it's like the flip side of a really good part of YouTube, and that, like, people will be honest with you and give you an honest opinion because they can comment anonymously, which I find very helpful.
Right.
So, I think that the downside is sometimes people like use that viciously and say things that just aren't even true. But, I mean, I like getting the feedback. I always thank people for feedback. And sometimes, somebody's right. Sometimes I mispronounce names on my show.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to look up names.
Oh yeah, they'll get on you for that, which I like too. I mean, it keeps us honest because the Schmoes, we're not the best at going on IMDb right before a movie. We'll actually call each other out if we knew like the fourth lead in a movie. We'll look at the other person and be like, "You cheated! You went on IMDb to get that name."
Usually, it's like it's the girl from that episode of House that we really liked. It's like that's what we're thinking, like the third and fourth lead.
I think until 50-50 review, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was still the kid from Third Rock to me.
Yeah.
Third Rock.
Third Rock.
Which Rock? It was the Third Rock from the Sun.
Third Rock from the Sun. Yeah.
And Grace, you can admit this if you actually do this, because I do this too. I love reading the comments. It's one of my favorite things about doing a YouTube show. Is like I'll come home late night from the comedy clubs, and maybe I had a great set, maybe it was okay, maybe the waitress that I fancy didn't talk to me that night, and you get home and the comments keep you warm at night. That's my guilty pleasure, is reading and then responding to a lot of the comments. I love it.
And then if you
I try and read every comment, at least for the first 2 or 3 days that a video is up, and I try and respond as much as I can too.
Yeah. No, as for me,
and I think I agree with you. I think that's one of the best parts of YouTube.
Mm-hmm. And then if you're feeling really good about yourself, just go on some comments of things that people may not have liked as much, and watch as your self-esteem is just shot to hell. It really makes you feel pretty good about yourself.
Yeah, that's right. I think YouTube is like the great equalizer.
Yes.
You can go on there feeling depressed and you'll feel better about yourself. But if you go on there and you're feeling you're riding a little too high, don't worry. The internet will bring you back down to par.
It will knock you right back down. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. YouTube keeps it real, and I like it that way.
YouTube does.
Well, and speaking of keeping it real, as the kids say, Grace, we're very excited because last year we kicked off this thing along with Jeremy Johns and a lot of other great movie reviewers called the YouReviewers Awards, and it's kind of our answer to the Oscars and all these other award shows that I think part of the reason why we started was because we were pissed that Inception didn't win more stuff.
Right.
And actually, if you go on Inception's Wikipedia page, you will see that Inception, it has all the awards in Inception won, and one of the awards listed is the YouReviewers Awards.
Get out of here. That's fantastic. Congratulations, man.
That's right. And we're so confident in what we do with the YouReviewers Awards, we don't even give you a trophy. We don't send you anything. It's just the name alone. You don't win a stupid gold naked guy. You just win the thrill of being the YouReviewers. And Grace, it felt a little incomplete last year because we were -1 Grace Randolph, and it appears that this year we will have Grace Randolph on the YouReviewers Awards.
That is a giant round of applause from the YouTube community.
I'm very excited. I'm so glad you asked me to be a part of it this year, and I think that it's going to be really cool, and I think it's really great. And as I said, I think that the role that you guys have taken in getting the community together is really admirable.
And it is cool to see a growth in the female movie reviewers community as well, because like usually on our show we have Catherine Reitman who does a great show online as well, and she did not have a baby this week. Okay. I'm not sure why she's missing the podcast. I'm sure she's doing something very big in Hollywood. But if you get it, Grace, have you seen any of Catherine's movie reviews?
No, I haven't. I guess. Right?
Catherine Reitman, you definitely want to check her out, and she's been co-hosting our podcast recently with her, and we have a great rapport because she's really good at ball busting, to be honest with you, and it works well for what we do, and she's really gotten into the swing of things too. So how
many total reviewers now are on the YouReviewers this year?
We have all these different. We had to do a restriction, so you have to have a minimum number of subscribers to hit, and all these different things to be able to actually present. And if you look at Grace's number, she clearly has exceeded that limit. So it's going to be a really cool thing, and it's going to come out around early next year. We're doing the nominations in the next couple of weeks here, so we're going to be very excited about it.
I think people are really excited about it because I put up a video on the Oscars, and one of the first comments was, "For the Oscars, I can't wait for the YouReviewers Awards." So
that's great.
I think that that's really nice.
And you talk about award season, and you have all these great movies that are supposedly coming out this time of year. What has really caught your eye, Grace, as far as something that you think could be a top award winner for the YouReviewers?
Well, I think The Artist is going to be up there. I mean, I know I had some problems with the story aspect of it, but I think that in terms of an artistry as a film, it's quite good.
A lot of people are starting to talk about it because it's like a silent movie, right?
Yeah, it is 100. Yeah, it's a silent film.
Wow.
And I think that, but I think there are a lot of movies coming out that I think are going to be a big, really factor in that just haven't been released yet. Like I'm excited for Carnage, The Iron Lady, Girls Dragon Tattoo, War Horse. Although Girls Dragon Tattoo is being shut out by a lot of places, so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we did, I don't know, I can't actually remember. I think you reviewers, maybe I should bring this up at the next roundtable committee at that hollowed out volcano that we all meet at to shoot the show. Is it The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo? That trailer was pretty incredible. Yeah. I saw the trailer, got really excited. Still have no idea what the hell it's about.
No idea.
But man, was that a good trailer!
Jeez, oh man.
And
amazing trailer. Part of me is a little offended about the fact that I don't like remaking. It's a big thing I talk about a lot on my show. I don't like remaking foreign films in America and for Hollywood. I feel that as the foreign film industries, other countries really step up their game and are able to put out movies that can compete.
Right.
I think that other countries show our movies and just dub them or subtitle them.
Right.
And I think that high time America kind of did the same courtesy. But, also I think I'll be interested to see how people react to how it's like really R-rated movie.
Yeah. It looks like it's going to be a hard R. And talking about movies that were remade for American audiences, Let Me In, the vampire movie, was originally Let the Right One In. That Thomas Alfredson did, and we got a Swedish fan of ours, Tommy Martinson, was having fun with me because apparently I didn't pronounce Alfredson right. I don't have like the Swedish.
It's Alfredson.
Is that how you did it? But he did Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, which I saw a couple of days ago and just got the review out, and that's real. I think Gary Oldman is got to be a front runner for Best Actor.
Oh, he's amazing. That's really one of the top things on my list. I'm very excited about it. That's great. You got to see it in advance.
It's got this weird rolling release date because apparently it's been out overseas for a couple months now, and then it's just now starting to hit here in America. So I hope that it does eventually get a wide release because it's a slower spy movie. It's not James Bond where there's cars disappearing and Q is building an exploding pen and that kind of stuff. It's very, very slow in building, but if you put the time in, it really is. It's a worthwhile investment.
I'm very excited, and I agree with you. I'm glad to see that director make a more mainstream film and get recognition, because I know he in particular was very upset that his movie was remade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
wow.
That's right. Yeah. And I mean, did anything come out that maybe this summer that you think could be a contender for an award season kind of movie?
You know me. You know mine is
Midnight in Paris. I think definitely.
Josh, were you going to say Midnight in Paris?
No, mine is Warrior. I loved that movie. I think that if Nick Nolte doesn't get at least nominated for something big, it's a shock. I thought that movie, I had no idea going into it that I would be that emotionally attached by the end of that movie to that entire cast, and just like I loved that movie.
Well, I'll tell you who did know he'd be that emotionally attached to it was one Kristian Harloff, because he loves MMA, and that's what the film is about. It's pretty much the Rocky of MMA. And I walked in. I'm not a big MMA guy,
not at all,
and I got so into that movie. Grace, I don't know how big of an MMA gal you are. Did you see Warrior?
I'm not been in the sport, but I did see the movie.
Did you enjoy it?
I did like the movie. The only one problem with it, I didn't like the montage in the middle of it.
The sports training montage?
Montage, and they were like, look, different pictures, and they had like squares coming in out of the screen, and I was like, this is a very long montage.
I kind of agree that was like edited kind of weirdly. It was like I kind of agree with you on that montage. It was weak, but I just really, really enjoyed that movie. I'm from Pittsburgh. They shot it in Pittsburgh, and
my grandma's from Pittsburgh. I go there all the time.
Oh, I love it. Where in Pittsburgh is she from?
She's Baldwin.
Oh, I went to Upper St. Clair High School. We're neighbors.
Where'd you go?
Upper St. Clair. It's like 2 towns over.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, my mom went to Baldwin High School.
There you go.
I grew up in Williamsburg, Virginia. That's 3 states away. I feel like so close to you guys right now.
But no, I mean, with Warrior, that was some of the strongest responses from audiences. On the trailer, people really liked that movie,
and it just did so poorly at the box office. And it's one of those ones that I just fail to comprehend why it didn't make more money. I just simply don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, everybody that I told to go see that movie was like, really, come on, it's an MMA movie. But honestly, that movie just moved. I mean, it's. Sports movies, it's in my top 10 without a doubt. Just without a doubt. And after one of those, you want to go hug your dad. You want to call your brother and be like, "I love you, man."
Yeah,
you know?
I know. It's Now, actually, yeah, I mean, you got Warrior is up there. Another one for me that I think could be nominated is that came out in the summertime was a smaller movie called Beginners.
I didn't see it.
You talk about a movie that will make you want to hug your dad.
Definitely will get nominated.
You think so, Grace?
Oh yeah, I think Christopher Plummer walked away with just recently got an award for Best Supporting for that. I think.
Wow.
I think that movie. I think he's just putting that movie on the radar.
Yeah, I think that that between that and then you also have 50-50 was another really good. It's funny.
50-50 was really good.
There's been a lot of disease movies. I think the disease movie I liked the least was Contagion, which the whole thing was like a disease exploding, and that was the one I liked the least.
Contagion. I left that movie theater and just put hand sanitizer all over my entire body. Like I was.
Scary.
Oh God, I hated that movie.
Yeah, now Grace. Yeah, you didn't get to do the assigned seating. Like I would just go to the theater and then just sit in whatever seat was farther away from the checked off seats. You didn't get that luxury in New York, so you probably had to sit next to somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, actually, I saw a theater in upstate. I went to like an IMAX theater. I happened to be out of town that weekend, and it was very weird. But I thought that movie actually was so well shot on IMAX. Steven Soderbergh just did a very nice job with it. I really liked it. I was surprised people didn't like it better. But maybe it misrepresented what it was.
I didn't hate the movie. I hated the idea of dying of like a spreading disease. Yeah, I just that stuff gets me, man. I'm a germaphobe.
It was a really well done movie, but it's not like something that I could recommend going to see on a breezy Saturday afternoon. Like, am I going to go watch Tom Hanks and Julia Roberts together and Larry Crown? No. I'm going to watch Contagion and the whole world die. That's what I'm going to do.
I think that's like a real disease that they had in that movie.
Yeah.
It just doesn't, for some reason, they're like, this actually happens, I think, like in China, but they're like, but we contain it. Don't worry about it. Like, some people get it occasionally, but we just quarantine them, and you don't have to worry.
Yeah, look, I get sick on flights home when I fly home for Christmas to Virginia, so I'm not flying overseas anytime soon.
Yeah, that's very scary.
Now, and then kind of looking forward to the 2012 kind of movie calendar, something that's really cool is that I'm looking really forward to this Mission Impossible 4 thing.
I think I am too.
Are you excited about it, Grace?
That's my Christmas movie.
There you go.
I'm seeing it on Christmas.
Well, and apparently you're near an IMAX screen, and I hear that if you see Mission Impossible 4 in IMAX, that they're going to run the first 6 minutes of the new Batman movie that's coming out this summer.
Out of here.
Mixed on that though, because I was standing next to a poster the other day, and they said that the, Mission Impossible 4 had select parts in IMAX.
So, okay, so not all of Mission Impossible 4 was filmed in IMAX.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, seriously? But I'm just such a big fan of Brad Bird that I really want to support him getting into live action.
Yeah.
I'm just really excited for it.
A buddy of mine was the writer's assistant on that movie.
On Mission Impossible 4?
Yeah. And he...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so he was giving
maybe
me...
since we're so excited for it, maybe it'll be like a sleeper hit, because it's not tracking as well as,
I'll tell you what...
Sherlock Holmes 2...
And
Sherlock Holmes, a Game of Shadows is coming out. You got, and then obviously you also have War Horse is going to be out on Christmas, and then Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. It's a tight competition for best Christmas movie.
Brutal.
I will see Girl with the Dragon Tattoo for sure, though.
Mm-hmm. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, I think, is
a must.
And it may... what I like about the MI4 ad campaign is that it just seems like it's got a lot of chutzpah, It's like, hey, we made a badass movie. You're going to want to see this.
Yes, yeah.
That's how I feel. I feel like, I like the different exciting shots that Brad Bird put in there. Like I love the scene when, like, the car comes out of the dust storm and, like, Tom Cruise has to, like, get out of the way. Like, Tom Cruise might be nuts in real life, but, damn it if he's not a professional on camera. He knows what he's doing.
100% agree.
And he gets a little faster with every Mission Impossible movie. Like, in the first one, he's jogging at a brisk pace. And then in the second one, he really starts to kick it in. The third one, he's in a full sprint.
He's in all the right moves sprint in the third one.
This one, I'm not... If I'm Usain Bolt, I'm not going to spot him 10 yards because he may beat me.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right. Not run cars.
He is.
His hair gets longer and cooler.
Yeah. Well, I think it's every other movie. Like I think in 2 and 4, it's going to be long hair. So then in Mission Impossible 5, if Ethan Hawke survives this, Ethan Hawke. Look, listen to me. If Ethan Hawke survives, I don't think Ethan Hawke is going to survive Mission Impossible 4. If Ethan Hunt survives it, I think he's going back to short hair, which is a haircut that Ethan Hawke looks very good in. So,
I also just like that he's wearing a hoodie too in the poster. They're like, look, he's just Tom Cruise in a hoodie.
Yeah.
Like, that's a bold marketing campaign.
All of Silver Lake is really excited about it.
That's right. If you are a hipster and you have your Coke bottle rim glasses, you are going to love Mission Impossible 4. Yeah. Grace, what's coming out next summer? I mean, you have all the big comic book movies that we're already aware of. What is on your 2012 definitely must-see calendar?
Well, I think what surprised everybody is how strong Snow White and the Huntsman is.
Yeah, and I brought up that video that you did before. Are you on Team Mirror Mirror, or are you on Team Snow White and the Huntsman? I'm definitely a Huntsman kind of guy.
I'm looking Huntsman.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I like what Julia Roberts is doing in Mirror Mirror.
Mm-hmm.
I like her doing like a comedy. I think she has some funny lines, but I think like the rest of the movie looks so weak that, you know, I'm all about Huntsman's action. I think that's pretty exciting. Yeah,
Julia Roberts seems to be embracing the humor element, which is not bad to have. I mean, I watched the Mirror Mirror trailer. I didn't. Kristian kind of hated it. I didn't. But you know, if he had to pick one Snow White movie to show a daughter, to show a kid, then you probably want to go Mirror Mirror, because the Huntsman, that thing looks pretty intense.
Intense.
Oh well, actually, yeah. But I gotta say, I show a kid Huntsman. I mean, like. Bad stuff happens, and that's how I learned when I was little how to avoid strangers and when something would be suspicious. I mean, like, I thought, you know, I think, you know, it's like, don't talk to this crazy lady.
Grace, you grew up in the mean streets of New York. I think that a family in the middle of Omaha, Nebraska, they're a little more conservative.
I think that family's getting Mirror Mirror. I think that's what they're getting. But yeah,
you're right. I'll probably see both.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I think you definitely got to see both. If no other reason to compare it, then there's another movie with Jeremy Renner coming out where he is kind of like, there's some sort of fairy tale element. And then there's also all these TV things, like Once Upon a Time and stuff like that. Have you checked out any of these other fairy tale kind of entertainment options?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'll see. I'd see a trailer, but it seems pretty funny. It's produced by Will Ferrell, so it should be okay.
Okay.
And then I tried to watch Once Upon a Time, but I got so angry that it was ripping off Fable, so I turned it off about 2 minutes in. I was just like, this angers me so much, and I turned it off.
There's fans of fairy tales out there, man. If you get the fairy tale wrong, or if you're not doing it correctly or faithfully, or you don't have a cool, interesting new take, which I think Snow White and the Huntsman might be, then you think Twilight girls would get pissed off if Taylor Lautner didn't take his shirt off. Wait until you make a bad Snow White movie.
Forget about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just think that, you know, when everyone was talking about, you know, Alice in Wonderland rip-offs. Did you like Alice in Wonderland? I liked it. People are very divided on that movie.
Nah, I wasn't a fan.
I wasn't a huge fan. I had the bad kind of dice roll of seeing it in a theater that the 3D was really out of whack and the sound wasn't that good, so it was kind of tough to sit through. But I appreciated elements of it. I actually loved Crispin Glover, and I loved Helena Bonham Carter in it.
I love Helena Bonham Carter.
She knocked that role out of the park, man. But as a whole, I was just kind of blah on it. You got into it, Grace?
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought, maybe because I thought it has a little bit of a feminist angle to it as a movie. I really liked Mia Wasikowska, her in the lead role, and it was written by the lady doing the Beast, and I just thought it was such a good. I really liked it a lot. I thought that was like one of my favorite movies last year.
Wow. And then the producer of Alice in Wonderland is producing Snow White and the Huntsman, so that's another thing to get you kind of excited for that.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a surprisingly. I mean, I think everyone thought the Snow White movies are going to be a joke, and then, bam, Universal puts out this killer trailer. It's like, oh my God, I'm so excited.
Yeah. And I mean, as far as 2012 as a whole, I mean, I guess I am kind of more of a fanboy at heart than I kind of let on. I mean, I think it's, for me, it's between, as far as excitement level goes, I'm excited for The Hobbit, but I think I'm more excited. I think it's going to be the Avengers versus The Dark Knight Returns.
God, I can't wait for The Dark Knight.
So, Josh, you're going Dark Knight Returns as your number one movie that you're looking forward to.
I'll go see it first weekend. I don't care how.
Are you going to see Mission Impossible 4 in IMAX to see the first 6 minutes, or do you not want to see the, if there's Batman footage out there, I want to see it.
Yeah.
I don't want to stay on the line. I'm a little scared about that. For an IMAX movie here in New York, just to set the stage for you, you want a good seat for an IMAX movie, it's like opening weekend, you have to get there 2.5 hours early.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen one movie in its entirety in IMAX, and that's when one of the first screenings that the Schmoes got into, one of the first press screenings was The Dark Knight.
Oh, wow.
And Kristian had seen movies in IMAX before, so he was kind of my guiding force, if you will. And he said, like, you got to sit from the middle row back. Or back, because if you sit anywhere closer than that, you're just going to feel lost. So we got there really early. We sat all the way in the back. Is that how you do it, Grace, with an IMAX screen?
Oh, yeah. Well, I go to the 68th and Broadway one here in New York, and you have to sit like in the last 3 or 4 rows.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah, because it's true. It's just as you saw it. So I mean, like I saw Harry Potter in IMAX here in that theater, and I got there, I'd say 2 hours early for the movie, and I was like really far back in the line.
Man, that's 2 hours early.
You need to go sit on the line.
You know what? Me and Macuga should just come hang out with you in New York, and we should just tailgate before The Dark Knight Returns. We'll get there at 7 in the morning. We'll cook some bratwurst.
2.5 hours in a line usually means a flask and a 6-pack.
Yeah, you hang out, and you're like, woo! Yeah, but I mean, like, I think that I'm 100%. Mission Impossible 4 is like, just like I think a lot of people do. You pick out your Christmas movie in advance. That's what you're going to see, and that's what I'm seeing for Christmas.
Well, good. And then for 2012, your number one most anticipated movie, what are we looking at?
I think it's a toss-up between The Dark Knight and The Avengers.
Cool. Grace Randolph and I
Grace.
on the same page.
Yes. I have to say, I'm
Match
really
made in
curious
heaven.
to see what movie does better at the box office. I think that I think when The Dark Knight Rises was first announced, everyone's like, "Oh, nothing in the world can beat it." I think The Avengers is looking pretty hot.
That's one of mine for sure. And I thought that trailer was pretty damn cool.
I loved it. Yeah.
I was a big fan. I liked the way they showed the Hulk at the end of the trailer.
Yeah.
They just kind of gave you a little sneak peek of it.
I think that'll be some redemption for Green Lantern and for Captain America. That'll be because those weren't the greatest of movies.
Yeah, well, I think Captain America's job was just to Thor and Captain America came out and it's like, okay, guys, just don't lose the game for us. Right. Just manage the game well enough. And I loved Thor.
I did too. I really liked Thor.
And I like Captain America a lot
Thor.
too.
Yeah. I thought
Captain America was medium. I mean, I kept thinking, like, why couldn't he just land the jet? I mean, at the end of the ship.
Hey, Grace, you and I are the same way. Like, I don't understand why he had to die, and like, because that end scene where the dialogue is just extremely cheesy for way too long. That's what killed the movie for me.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, I thought Red Skull looked pretty cool, but that was my big problem with the movie. Was every time Hugo Weaving took off his mask, I couldn't help but think of Jim Carrey in The Mask, and I thought he'd just say "smoking." That was my first go-to.
That's a great movie. I love The Mask.
I'm sorry, Grace. Go ahead.
I was going to say the coolest thing I liked about first Captain America was the old school countdown doomsday clock they had in the Red Skull's lair.
Yeah.
Flip numbers. I was like, what a great little detail.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's good.
Well, I'm glad that Grace is excited about the upcoming comic book movie season. We only got 6 months left, Grace. So we
count down. We'll put that doomsday clock up for us.
Get in line now.
Well, it is. I guess it's time to wind down yet another episode of the Schmoes Know podcast. And Grace, we could not have picked a better guest on a day when Catherine Reitman is out. I'm going to say she's riding the mechanical bull at a bar somewhere because she's not with us. And Kristian Harloff, again, congratulations to my good buddy Kristian, the other half of Schmoes Know, for having a baby girl a couple of days ago. And Grace, with those two guys out of commission, I couldn't have a better guest than you. So I really appreciate you coming on the show from 3,000 miles away.
I had so much fun talking to you guys. It was a pleasure.
And we had a blast too.
We had a blast, and thank you, Josh, for helping me for co-piloting me through this.
No, thank you, Mark.
I guess Grace was my co-pilot, and you're sitting in the jump seat.
I was sipping the minis in the jump seat.
You're our head stewardess, Josh, and we really appreciate that. You guys can catch more on Josh Macuga at casualmafia.com, and of course Grace Randolph, the creator and the host of the hit show on YouTube Beyond the Trailer, and look for Grace and the Schmoes and some other special guests on the YouReviewers Awards coming up very soon. Thank you guys so much for listening to the Schmoes Know podcast. Please go on iTunes and rate this and comment and be just as nice as you always are in the videos. Thank you guys soon. Thank you guys. We will talk to you next week.